Exterminate! Exterminate!
I'm the Doctor.
I'm a time lord. I'm from the planet Gallifrey, the constellation of Cerberus. When I see a rat,
Time and relative dimension in space.
It means life.
Greetings, humans, Daleks, Time Lords, and trees. You are listening to Exterminating Doctor Who.
This is the show to take unpopular episodes of Doctor Who and debate whether they're really all that bad.
With your hosts, Aidan, Gula.
And me, George Ellis.
And in today's episode, we will be talking about In the Forest of the Night.
Wait, hold on. Why is it called In the Forest of the Night?
It is a poetry reference.
Because I'm not... Is there any nighttime in the episode, or am I...
No, not... Well, I suppose the forest sprung up overnight, didn't it?
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
It's a very
It
weird...
should be in the forest of the day, but...
Yeah. But, I mean, that's actually... We've got really straight into this. I'll hold off for a second. But it's a really bizarre episode. Like,
yeah,
it's
right.
really, really weird.
Yeah. It's got characters... It's not got much threat. It's just kind of there. And it has a weird feel to it. You know what I mean? Like the camera sometimes does weird. Like it just has here, and the camera just like the Doctor's just here. Like hello. It does weird.
I hadn't noticed that, but it's just a really weird. Watching it last night, I wasn't head in hands going, "Oh God, what is this?" I was sort of going, "What is this?"
Yeah, I know
like,
exactly what you mean.
What? I'm not getting it. Like, there's so many, like, you said then about, what's the title all about? It's because there's some really weird poetry and fairy tale references throughout it. And it's just like, so, for example, Maeve is Red Riding Hood.
Which,
We have big bad wolves at one point. Yep. We have references to Hansel and Gretel when they're leaving the trail. Like some weird fairy tale theme. But then also the title In the Forest of the Night you just mentioned, it's from a poem called Tiger. So we get a tiger later on. But it's just like, why? Why have you got all these? Why did you think, right, I'm going to write a Doctor Who episode? But you know what you know what Doctor Who's really missing? Fairy tale and poetry. It's like, why are they the things you're focusing on?
I think it's because it's more of a kids episode than any of the others, because it is just a school of children.
Yes, it's absolutely a children's episode, this one.
It has got elements which are charming, but it does feel very
odd.
Yeah,
that's the only way. That's the only way I can describe it, because it's not. You often see this one on the worst episodes ever lists. You often see it there, and I've always looked at it and gone, "Yeah, it's not great. I quite enjoy it, but I just don't get it."
Yeah, I'm with you there. Like, what is the point of any of it? It's kind of like...
That is exactly my question. What is the point of it? Because it's not like you got these big threats. It's not like you're going, let's really explore this character. You just sort of going, children and trees. And it's like...
the Doctor shows up to teach them about trees for a bit.
Yeah. And it's like, I just don't know what... It's not... like the last two episodes we've done, I think there's quite a similarity between this one, Orphan 55, and Kill the Moon. That's why I connected them together, because, I mean, I'll come on to a problem I have later on that connects all three episodes, whatever. But the last two have a message, whether or not you agree with the messages of them, but they have
and whether or not the message is delivered well.
Yes. But this one, there is no message. There is no theme. It's just there.
But is there a theme? Is there a message? I think there might be, though, with deforestation.
Is that the message, though? Because it's just...
I think it has to be.
There is deforestation in it. When they go, "We're burning the trees, step back." And it's like, sure, but then the rest
they
of it
say,
sort of...
"Don't burn the trees." And then, because the trees are our friends. It does feel like... Well, trees are our friends, to be fair, because without them, we'd be dead. But also, paper.
Okay.
No, I think that is the message. And it's not done in a bad way. I think it's just quite a nice. It is a bit on the nose.
Well, I suppose it
for
is in
me.
a bad way because it's just sort of like, is that the message?
Well, yeah,
Because
for
I
me,
just
to
sort of
be
watch this
fair,
and I'm like, what?
for
What are you
me, it
doing?
was really very clear that that was what they were saying when Maeve literally says, "Trees are our friends." I did feel like yes, so it is. I think it's a bit too there for me, but it's better than the other one because it's a good message. Good message, because trees are good.
I suppose so. Maeve.
Where's the controversy? Come, why is this episode? It's just so.
Maybe that's why I quite like watching it. I mean, I wouldn't choose to watch it over other episodes, but
No.
when it's if I'm doing a rewatch and it's coming up, I'm not like, oh, that episode. I just sort of watch it and I go, oh, okay. It's just quite a fun thing to watch because I'm just sort of like, I don't really need to focus on this.
Yeah,
It's just happening.
Just flows. It's just it. Yeah, it's just a nice little. It's like a side mission. That's basically what it is.
Yeah, I
Where the
mean,
doctor is stumbling across a kid, right, best bit. I really did enjoy the dynamic between the Doctor and Maeve because that was the best bit in the episode for me.
yeah. I mean, I think most of my positive points are all just the Doctor, to be fair, because I just find the Doctor is so funny in this episode.
Oh, I kept laughing, chuckling through it, and my dad kept looking at me like, "Yeah, all right." But I kept chuckling, like, do you know when the Doctor? Sorry, do you know when the Doctor first appears and he's just behind the tree, just kind of lying there, and I'm like, that made me, that made me burst out. I love it.
Yeah, no, I do find the Doctor really funny. They've got like you were saying earlier, the bit when Maeve's doing. And he's like, wait, Maeve, what is this? What is this? That bit's funny. And there's a few other lines when he just says stuff. And I think I said to you, there's the one where he's like going, oh, Danny Pink was looking after you. No wonder you lost. There was lines like that every now and then. That I was just like, I like this. I can't think of any others, mind. No, but there were lines in there. I did there's quite a bit that made me laugh actually. It's not a funny line, but it made me laugh. It was the way it was filmed. I suppose, like you were saying, when he just suddenly comes up to the camera, it's where the camera's sort of below the upper level of the TARDIS, and the Doctor's explaining what's going on to all the kids, and he just comes towards the camera and he just goes, "Trees."
Yes.
And I was like, oh, bit bizarre.
It was a bit weird, the bit when he was looking for the kids and he was looking at all of them, Maeve, but it was still kind of funny. It was like, Maeve, no, what, Maeve? Because it's like, yeah, we are just insects to this creature.
Yeah,
We're just all the same.
And even though this girl annoyed me, the ginger girl, I do quite like when he is going through, going, Maeve, 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 and he gets to the end and she just goes, oh my God, Maeve has got nothing like that, just initial panic moments. Even though that girl was annoying me and I kept thinking, please be quiet, that was actually quite funny.
Yeah.
I've just noticed. This is right at the end of the episode, but I have written down another line, and it's when they're watching the solar flare burn Earth. And the Doctor just goes, oh, I really hope I'm right. It'd be really awkward if I wasn't. I just laughed at that bit. And Clara just goes, wait, what? And he's like, anyway, I have written my notes slightly different this time. I've done one page of positive, one page of negative.
Oh.
So they're not necessarily in order.
Right.
But like you said, the cold open is when the Doctor meets Maeve and they're sort of just walking around the TARDIS, and he's like going, oh, you're not surprised it's bigger on the inside? She's like, I just thought it was supposed to be. I quite like that. And I do find the intro quite intriguing, to be fair, for setting up the premise of the episode, when he's just like, this isn't London. She goes, yeah, it is. This is Trafalgar Square. And he's like, wait, how is there a big forest? And that is watching that. It's like, okay, why is there a big forest in London?
It's a shame the ants trees, but
conscious trees, but I do find that I do think it's a good start.
It's a nice open. It's kind of just it's just nice. It sets everything up and it sets the kind of the Doctor's personality up for the episode. Sets who Maeve up is. It's just nice. It's a good, nice little mystery. What could this be? It's good. Yeah.
So while we're here, let's talk about how that develops throughout the episode. The trees.
Well, as a message, I've said I think it's quite a nice one. But is it completely dumb and kind of pointless? Yeah.
Yeah. It's like what it's one of those things again, like I said with Kill the Moon. the twist at the end of Kill the Moon is completely stupid, but I'm sort of used to it now, so I don't go at it anymore because I'm just like, I know what's going to happen here. This one's got sort of the same thing as when the Doctor just goes, they'll just forget. I remember watching that the first time and being like, no, you wouldn't. But now I watch that, I just sort of see it coming, so I just brush it off. But it still annoys me.
Yeah, because it's like, I mean, we will probably forget eventually, but it's not like it won't be in a textbook. Sorry, I'm swearing a lot at the moment. It won't be in a textbook somewhere saying big lots of trees on Earth, solar flare, yay. It just, it does seem, again, like the idea of them making Earth something and then just being like, fine.
Yeah, they'll just get over it. And I just sort of, I especially think with social media and everything like that in 2014, mind. But people would have been taking pictures of them trees. People would have been posting with the trees. People would be talking about these trees.
Posting with the trees. And this is me with tree?
They would. They'd be going, this tree wasn't here yesterday. It's a tree with... I'm trying to think of British landmarks, and I cannot think of any.
The Queen.
Oh yeah, the Queen just stands there, doesn't she? Just, here's the Queen.
Is Queen with tree, and is Queen without tree? No.
Well, it goes all the way around the world, so I can use anywhere. Let's say the Eiffel Tower. Somebody's like, I've got the Eiffel Tower and a tree. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The people would be posting that, and it'd be on the news for a while afterwards as well. Do you remember those trees when they popped up overnight? It'd get to a point where we go, okay, there's not much more we could say about these trees anymore, but trees.
And I mean, scientists would never stop trying to figure out why the tree suddenly grew and disappeared. But
and what the hell those weird fairy light things were at the end.
We don't mention those because they make the episode worse somehow.
Right
in Doctor Who, we've had elements where there have been big things happening, like with the spaceship and the Big Ben, and they remember it and they bring it up later on, and it's had repercussions. Why has Doctor Who in Capaldi's era and Jodie's decided to have moments where they're like, big changing event, human race won't remember it? Why not?
It knows me, especially as then this is the precursor to the series finale. And as much as I do like the series finale, actually, it has I don't know if you watched it, but it's the one where every single grave across the world is turned into a Cyberman.
Yes, I've seen that one.
So there's Cybermen rising from the graves, and they're all flying around and shooting people. Yeah,
looking inside a helmet, which wouldn't make sense.
I watched that and I go, are you telling me this wouldn't cause some world security disaster? With all you're telling me that if I go see my nan now, that she's not there anymore because she's turned into a cyber. That annoys me.
Yeah,
because it takes it out of the real world. And I think we've gone from like the forest takes over the world one week, and next week your nan's not in a grave anymore. Do you know what I mean?
Doctor Who's kind of like, it's aliens, big scope, but it's always so focused. And it's either big scope and everyone remembers it, and there are repercussions and people change. So it is kind of our world, but a little bit different. Or big scope, but it's so focused on the Doctor containing that, you don't need to worry about that kind of thing. That's what it does well when it does those two. I don't know why I picked these two fingers. When it does those two options.
Well, at least you didn't do I don't know. I can't even do that. Like those. That'd be weird if you went 1 and 2 and 3. This is what I'd be like, what the hell are you doing?
Spider-Man. No, but when it does that, it works because it is Doctor Who's world is Earth, but a little bit different. But when it does, as you're saying, huge big scope and there's nothing, it's too big. It's like this just isn't our planet anymore. And it's like with Orphan 55, which I still that could have been a different planet and it would have made more sense. And there was no need for that one to be Earth at all.
Yeah, and this is what I was saying is the theme between the last 3 episodes that we've done. It's Kill the Moon. Didn't have to be Earth. Orphan 55 didn't have to be Earth. This one didn't have to be Earth. And actually, if you'd said this is an alien planet and trees have sprung up overnight, I'm more likely to believe you. I'll just go, sure, that's what alien planets do. You just accept it. But when they say Earth, trees spring up overnight, I'm like, no, they don't.
Well, they obviously picked Earth because cheaper.
And children Maybe did they just want to? Were the children an essential part of this episode?
They were the worst part of the episode, apart from Maeve, because of the hands.
Even she wasn't great.
What is this? What are you?
Actually, the hands didn't annoy me. The hands didn't annoy me about Maeve. I mean, sure, the actress can clearly. They've told the child, "You've got things flying around your head," and she's gone, "I don't know what you're talking about," so she doesn't really know what she's doing.
Mate, yeah, sure.
Yeah, she's like, okay, whatever. But it's when she says at the end, the thoughts, and she doesn't say thoughts. She just goes, the thoughts, the thoughts.
Oh,
like, no. Shush. That's the bit that.
Who is your acting coach, woman?
The thoughts. Like, please. Shush.
Child, you cannot.
Thoughts. TH, no F.
Thoughts. The thoughts are in my brain. Yeah.
And then the other kid, when she's like, but look, there's no rings on this tree. I'm like,
Which
right.
look really, really, really terrible.
I'm like sure, you've made quite a good discovery there, but can you stop being so annoying about it?
But it was such a clean break. It just looked so fake. Like no rings, and it was such a smooth. How did she manage that?
That's very fair.
Pocket knife.
I mean,
it felt like literally a prop. The art department just went, we need something in like 2 minutes. What have you got? Toilet roll and paint. Make it work. It just feels like cardboard. Yeah. It's like something I'd make in art and craft. Sorry.
I hadn't even thought of that. But yeah, I mean, just the whole tree thing.
It would be so much more interesting.
I have a note that just says, sort of explanation. Trees spring up overnight, sure. But the fairy things, that's what I wrote. And that's where you've already lost me by saying the forest has sprung up overnight.
There's a moment where it just lost me, and it kind of had me at the end when it was actually character moments. But both me and my dad, it's like, I literally said to my dad, it's losing me at the moment where it was just the kids all doing kids stuff, just all like they were just wandering around the forest. And then we get to the point where the tiger shows up, and then Danny Pink, using his military training, torch
shines a light in its face. Yeah, I did.
And it was like, right, you've just, first off, these wolves are the scrawniest motherfucker I've ever seen. They're so skinny. And then this tiger was annoyed at light, as is. Why? Just don't have a tiger. Done. You didn't need it.
It's literally only there just because In the Forest of the Night is taken from the poem called Tiger. And I did have a point, which was escaped zoo is pointless. It is just what is the purposes. We never see animals before that. We never see animals again after that. You know, it's not like a little penguin waddling around or something. That's it. We just have that one moment where these wolves show up, and then a tiger shows up. That's the end of that one.
It was the worst CGI I've ever seen as well for these tigers and wolves. Honestly, disgusting CGI.
I mean, I thought it was okay.
No way.
Besides one shot of the wolves, there's one shot of the wolves, and I thought, oh, but the rest of it looked like they'd just maybe
recorded a tiger in its cage and then just.
That's what I'm thinking. Maybe the way the animals looked themselves, I was looking at when I should have been looking at its composition around it. Because now I'm thinking they probably just got a David Attenborough documentary, cut them out, plonked them in. So I'm going, those wolves look convincing because they're real wolves. But the background, who knows what's going on?
It looks. It's like with Orphan 55 with the aliens, just recording the animal
and Kill the Moon with the spiders.
Yeah. And then it's just CG when they're just you didn't need the right Doctor Who. You didn't need the animals because number one, it cost you money to CG them in. So there you go. You can put that to your grandkids, and they're pointless. So you would have saved money, and the story would have flowed better. There you go.
Yeah, I mean it's just it's a threat, isn't it? It's the only threat in the episode.
But this episode benefit from a threat, or is it kind of it's just I think it doesn't.
Yeah,
it's not built around needing that. It's just kind of a nice.
Because the Doctor is hyping it up throughout the episode that he thinks it's a invasion, and I do like that because the Doctor's first mindset isn't just like, oh, this is trees. He just goes attack, like that's his first instinct.
I won't kill anyone, but give me that grenade.
So it's like when he's assuming it's an invasion, and he even says to Clara that bit where it's quite a good line. He's like going, "This isn't an invasion; they're already here." And I was like, "Good." He's like, "Oh," but I'm watching that going, "What? I've seen this 100 times. I know how this pans out." But sure, maybe when I was watching this the first time, I might have thought, "Who is this?" But I like that. But do you need a threat? Do you need a villain? Like I said, when we do this podcast, my intro, I always say the monster of the episode. There isn't a monster, that's why I just had to say trees. But do you need one? And that was the question I wanted to pose about this episode, is just how childish can Doctor Who be? Because this is the most childish I've ever seen it. But
oh yeah, but I don't think it's
where is the
childish
balance? Where's the balance between it being dark and really, like, because like the next week, like I said in that episode, in the finale, we literally have the bit when people are in the afterlife saying, "Please don't cremate me." And Doctor Who got so many complaints because they were like saying, "This is the darkest you have ever gone." But the week before, you've got children romping about. And where's the balance?
That's what I think. That's the key word here: balance. Consistency is always good, I think, because then you know what you're getting into each time. But Doctor Who, it's always so different each time. I feel like by having a childish episode and like a dark one, it can kind of balance it out. But also the problem with that actually is if a kid waddles into the living room and sees this episode and is like, "Doctor Who, yay!" Then next week they're like, "Ah!" Then maybe that's not the best thing and consistency would be better. I don't know. How childish can Doctor Who be? Personally, it can be quite childish, but I don't think it should ever be. I think it is meant to scare kids. I think that is its kind of thing. Scare kids. So it's mature, but can still be, I think it's like, let's think of like Lego.
Well, it
13
is.
and up, you know?
Yeah, but it is literally the phrase "hiding behind the sofa" comes from Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Because people in the 70s would say, "It was so scary, I hid behind my sofa." And now that's just that's a standard phrase now, but it's from talking about Doctor Who. Yeah. So Doctor Who should be, like I said, scary, but not to, although I really like the "don't cremate me" things, obviously. I'm an adult, so scary, I appreciate that. For a children's show, if you think about it as
different.
Yeah, if you think about it as a children's show, then sure, hide behind the sofa scary is maybe as far as you go. But you've also got to remember, but is that the audience now? Because if you think about it, like we watched it in 2005 when we were 4 years old. Now you're 20. I'm still 19, but you're 20.
Thanks for that one.
You got to think your tastes change from that. So do you consistently aim it at a family audience, or do you grow?
I think initially it was more for the family audience. But was it though? Actually, I think it may have been more mature. It just felt more, actually. Because do you think what they probably did? I'm just thinking, because you got Classic Who and then you got New Who, obviously. Do you think they kind of they're aiming New Who more towards some people who liked Classic Who originally? See, there was
when it first started, it was, we need to update. For when I see first started, I mean Christopher Eccleston.
Yeah.
It was aimed at new audiences, and it was like supposed to be just a completely refresh. So it's more based on the structure of things that were popular at that time, rather than the structure of Classic Who, when you'd have 4-part, 25-minute episodes. That's how they all were.
Yeah.
But they still aimed it at, there was still the consideration that you will have Classic Who fans watching this. But the thing that happened to Doctor Who after its cancellation is throughout the 90s, it was seen as really bad and naff. And I can't think of an example for an old TV show. I don't know, maybe it's like the way we perceive the old superhero films like Daredevil or Fantastic Four or something.
Right, you don't say superhero and put the name Daredevil film in that. That's
exactly what I'm saying. It'd be like, that's how we remember them now. Is when at the time they were considered quite good. Well, maybe not the Daredevil.
No way was there.
Daredevil was actually
Fantastic
a flop.
Four.
Let's use Fantastic Four because that's a better example. Daredevil was a flop when it happened. Fantastic Four, when that was originally out, it was seen as fine.
I liked it, yes.
The second film didn't do well at the box office, but it was seen as fine. And I really liked those films when I was growing up. You watch them now and you go, what the hell is this?
Stretchy
But
dancing.
that's basically what happened to Doctor Who. Is when it was out, it was fine. although it got really lost its popularity in the 80s, when it came to the 90s, that is essentially where we are now with those superhero films. It would be like, oh God, you remember that? Oh, it was awful. Like, that was just no, that's how they remembered it. So when they were like, okay, we're going to reboot this, they were like, yeah, we'll have all those things like the TARDIS, and even the first episode of the new run has the Autons, which is obviously a 70s John Pertwee villain. And it's like, yeah, we'll bring these things back, but we're now going to have a chav in the TARDIS. The Doctor's going to dress quite grungy. The interior is going to change. We're going to go to 45-minute episodes, and they just revamped it. So that's I can't remember where. Yeah, I can't remember where this point was supposed to be, but it was supposed to be
honoring the past, but they're revamping it because they want it to be good rather than,
Yes. So I suppose the original point of this was that now when you got Jodie Whittaker's here, and maybe this is why it lost me, because Series 11 did feel like that. It felt quite patronizing if you've been following it. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So maybe they do have to consider, there are people that are watching this who are now adults, and let's go on darker themes rather than going for the childish themes. But then how many children do watch Doctor Who now? Is it a children's thing? Because most children, my vision of children, as in like, when I say children, I mean like 10 years old and younger, my vision of them in 2021 is just sat on an iPad watching Baby Shark. Like I can't imagine them watching, sitting down on a Sunday night now rather than Saturday night, but sitting down on a Sunday night to watch Doctor Who.
Saturday night was a better night because then you could stay up and Doctor Who, you're making bad decisions here, right? I'm disappointed in you. Saturday. But is it still as for like a new audience kind of children as it was? I don't know. But that's the thing. I think the theme, like not the theme, the feel was more consistent in Eccleston's era and that kind of thing, because didn't feel like it was trying to be kids show or adult show. It's not like it had the Forest of the Night and then the other two episodes now. Really kids, really scary and kind of like a bit overboard, honestly, like traumatizing. Like in Eccleston's era, it had a sense of consistency, I'd say. Like there were some lighter moments, but it all
it's a family show at that point. Then it's got something for everybody. It's got something for the dads. It's got something for the kids. You know what I mean?
It's not like one episode was for the adults and one was for the kids. It was like one episode had elements that a kid could laugh at, and then there'd be an innuendo which the adults would laugh at. There would be, if it did feel more structured the more I think about it, actually.
And so I'm just build on that there. The scariest episode, I suppose, from series 1 is The Empty Child, The Doctor Dances. And if you think about that is really. I remember watching that with some of my friends. I'm talking 50.
Imagine having friends that watch Doctor Who with you.
Well, I mean, I'm primary school friends like 15 years ago. That's what I'm talking about here. And we watched The Empty Child. And I remember they were absolutely petrified of it. They don't listen to this, so I can embarrass them. But they were like, they were proper scared of it. I remember for the rest of primary school, or even ever Doctor Who was brought up in a secondary school conversation, they'd somehow mention that episode. They'd be like, "Oh, do you remember that time we watched that?" That's what it was like. But you think about that. The scary thing of that is a child. So maybe if you are a child and you can see a child, maybe that's less scary. If that makes sense.
I think it's more scary because if you, as a kid, see a kid turned into a bad guy, which is like, I'd say that's scarier. Because if you see an adult get turned into an alien, scary. If you see a kid who you probably relate to a lot more, and you do relate to a lot more, I'd say it's actually more scary.
Maybe actually.
But there's hope at the end, though. It's lovely. They all get saved, and there's still.
And there's the family sort of element, isn't there? Because it's the woman saying she's searching for her brother, but it's actually a son in the end.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that in series 2. But
but yeah, I do think really it's not Doctor Who. It's not whether or not Doctor Who should be dark or should be for kids. I think it just should be a family show like it was. And I think that's much more consistent. And I think that works better because then you've got it feels better. You do, if you have an episode, you're not sitting there thinking I don't like. When I had seen this one a very long time ago, but it's like completely forgotten. I didn't like it when I first saw it because it just felt so. Yeah, it felt childish, so I couldn't enjoy it. But then you had the other two episodes, one after this one, the two after this one. I forget their names. They're
Dark Water / Death in Heaven. Just
uh,
call it Death in Heaven. It's
Death in Heaven,
easier.
yes, sir. But then those are too dark. I think they are. I do think they, especially, I'd say getting complaints about saying "don't cremate me" and all that kind of thing. I think that is a bit too much. You know, if you focus too much on the death and the horror, then I don't think it can work for kids. So I really do think Doctor Who needs to be balanced, but not balanced in the sense of one episode is dark, one episode is dark, one episode is light. That doesn't balance it. That's really not how it
You
works.
have to tie things together.
Exactly, because that's a jarring thing. You watch one of those episodes and the other one, you've got whiplash. But if you balance them out, like balance an episode out nicely, and then then you can have 2 or 3 episodes building up to a dark moment. Then you can come back to that level playing field, and then it's got to be balanced. That's what I think. That's my conclusion with Doctor Who there.
Because that's what I do think that it's just the episode where this falls down is it's too childish. That is fundamentally what's wrong, and it's just the inconsistency. Because there's so many other episodes you could think of where there are dark elements, but I'm thinking they're not as jarring as they would be in the "Don't Cremate Me" one. Like, even if you think the other Master and Cyberman finale, when we've talked about it previously on this podcast, where they do the pain, that bit is terrifying, and yet it's fine.
It just works better
because
it's saying pushing a button. It's saying, please don't cremate me. I'm alive still. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Help, please. Whoever's watching. It's scary, but I think it's the word pain is scarier to us because we can think about that meaning a lot more.
And that's it. I think something like that would go basically over children's heads.
Yes.
And I think there's a lot of examples where I can think of would just go over children's heads. Like, if you think about, like, maybe Donna losing her memory is not a dark moment, but it's quite a traumatic moment. As far as you're concerned as a kid, this is just Donna leaving. She doesn't remember the Doctor anymore. Bish, bash, bosh, done. Nice and simple. You watch it now and you're like, oh my God. But it's like, that's the balance. It's finding a dark thing, but that it will be scary to kids, but not traumatizing. And maybe, hopefully, it will just go over their head slightly.
Yeah,
whereas if
you do the really dark stuff, you'd need to be aiming that above their heads, because you can't be having that land. You can't be having a kid thinking, "Oh my god, I'm gonna get cremated and I'm gonna feel it." That's a bad idea.
Because if you think of that, maybe kids don't know what the word cremate means though. But then they have to turn to their mum and go, "Mum, what does cremate mean?" And it's like, oh, this is a very awkward conversation now, isn't it? Basically, when you die, we burn your body alive. We're not alive. We burn your body till there's nothing left, and then we keep you in a jar.
Doctor Who says
what?
You get burned alive. Mummy, Doctor Who says you feel it.
So when you're cremated, do you feel it? No, that's just what Doctor Who's. But Doctor Who's. Oh God! So then you've got some children with a trauma about being cremated. But then, if they keep their body alive, they get turned into a Cyberman. So it's a win. It's a lose-lose situation, isn't it? So the basic, as much as I like Death in Heaven, it is traumatic. But this episode is too patronizing.
Yes.
I think. And even though...
Because it's purely childish, it cannot really land with anyone. Even a 14-year-old.
And also, perhaps that's why the whole forest thing doesn't make sense as well, because they've just sort of gone, well, children will accept that. And it's like, yeah, but the adults won't. Children might just go, oh, forest springs up overnight. Sure, whatever. Oh, colourful lights, the end. 5 children. When you're watching this, I was 14 when this was originally on. I am 19 now. And no, how old was I? No, I was 13 when this was originally on. Bloody hell. 13 when this was originally on.
Well, I remember
now.
stumbling across this when it first came out, and I didn't like it either, so I was around the same age.
Yeah. But it's like, even then, you think, forest overnight? Really? Oh, and they're going to forget about it? Really? What are those fairy things
really that's kids.
That's why I said 10 and below. That's why I
Yeah,
said 10 and below.
that is
because as soon as you're
so-
above that, you've got maturity, and you.
That's so focused. That's
And that's what's
CBBC.
even. Yeah, and that's
CBBS.
even. Like this would imagine this was a Sarah Jane episode. Fine. Not maybe not all over the world,
Well-
but say trees sprung up in London overnight. These children are gonna battle it. That is fine. Actually, think about it. I would have been completely fine with that.
I think-
'Cause
and
it's
I think
less
it works-
serious.
Yes, and I think it works better with those characters because Sarah Jane Adventures is aimed more. So Sarah Jane Adventures is just more of a kids show than Doctor Who. It's just how it
Well,
fundamentally
yeah,
is.
it was. It was literally on CBBC, so it was a kid show. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's another thing. Doctor Who is on BBC, which is so
Prime time television.
yes, it can't. Yeah, that's another thing proving the point that Doctor Who needs to be balanced. But yeah, so I think, and with the characters in Sarah Jane Adventures, it would really work as well because they are kids, and then you can have them discovering it, and Sarah Jane just kind of feet up on K9 having a cup of coffee, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and because those kids, I don't know how old those kids are supposed to be in it. I suppose a bit older.
Well,
I
they
can't
grow,
really
they
remember.
age, don't they? Remember? They.
Yeah, but these kids are supposed to be year 8s.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Sarah Jane Adventures. Sorry.
No, I was talking about Sarah Jane. I said I can't remember how old they were supposed to be in it.
They're
were
early
they were
high school,
secondary
yeah.
school, weren't they? Yeah.
Because I remember a good episode where they were with Bunsen burners. I can't remember with the.
And this
ants
one
and
where
stuff.
they must be actually because Luke goes to university, doesn't he, at some point? So they are
Later, that is later on.
later on, but they're obviously that's the
I
span we're
think
talking
it's
about.
kind of early, maybe middle of high school to university, like
To
that
the-
kind of gap
yeah.
is where we're set.
Yeah. Because when I was packing for university and putting all my stuff in the back of the car, my mind, because I'm so lodged into Doctor Who references, every single thing I do has a Doctor Who reference, by the way. So anything I do, something, oh, that's that bit in Doctor Who. Anytime I ever recognize an actor in anything, my mind just scans the Doctor Who file first. And usually it goes, yeah, that's where they're from.
Mhm.
But when I was packing for university and putting stuff in the back of my car, not my car, but my brain just went, this is like that bit in Sarah Jane when Luke put his stuff in. And I was like, oh, God. But the problem with the kids in this one is they're year 8s. And even though they're supposed to be year 8s, they seem more like primary school. I was not like that in year 8.
Yeah, they're a rabble, and they're even as a kid, I would hate those kids. So I don't see what the point is with those kids really to show.
But then it was also the gifted and talented thing Clara just says. I just call them that to make them feel special about themselves. I probably would have been in that group, to be fair.
I mean, with my lack of math skills, I would have just been there being like, this is George. He doesn't know what 2 is.
Yeah, exactly. No, that bit when it shows the kids, in the classroom and they're saying all those sarcastic things. That bit when that girl, when they goes, "Can you find X?" and she's like, "It's there." That I was watching that go. That was me. That's what I was like in school. It's there. There's X. No, find X. It's
And
there.
And you wonder why we do film.
Yes.
You know? Oh. No, but yeah, the kids just. I feel like they were there so that because this is just unimaginable children's episode, they are there as kind of stepping in, jumping off, whatever the word is, a relation for kids to be. So it's like, kids, I'm a kid, yay! But it's like as a kid, I was always treated as a member, like I was always treated as a person. My mum was never like, "Do you want to go to the park?" Well, I probably was when I was half a year old, but it was always I was treated as a person.
What, you're 6 years old and your mum's like, "George, there's a new Saw film out. Do you want to go see it?"
Well, actually, when I was probably a bit older than 10, she was like, "Alien, that seems like a good idea. Let's show my son that. He'll be fine with that." Couldn't sleep for weeks.
Yeah, no, I was the same with. I've talked about this on another podcast before, but I think when I was 8, if not younger, it was my dad was like, "So here's Terminator," and not even like Terminator 2, which is the more acceptable one. It was the first one,
Yeah,
which
same.
is some people call Terminator a sci-fi film. Yeah, the second one is. The first film is a slasher horror. It's fundamentally a slasher horror. But my dad was like, 8 years old, let's do this. And I'm not going to say, people could say that's bad parenting. No, that's good parenting.
Oh yeah, no, I'm fully
that's
on
how
board
you
with my mum.
begin.
Like because of my mum showing me Alien, I feel like I can take on any human being. So I'm safe. But if there's an alien, I will curl up in a ball and cry. So that's
Yeah.
basically, as
Yeah,
long as
it
there
means
isn't an alien invasion, I'm a strong person. As soon as there is, I'm gonna be crying in the corner,
Yeah.
wishing for
See,
my money.
that's it. It will give you a good film taste, but you will also be expecting an evil robot to come back from the future to kill
Yes.
you. So I am, prepared at all times. So,
Yeah, of course.
but my dad once said to me, actually, he said, I took you to the cinema to see B movie, and I enjoyed it more than you two did. He's like, you were so bored, but then we go home and watch Terminator, and you're like, yeah, kill that guy, and it's like, so in the forest of the night, beneath me.
Yeah, to be fair, it's not really something I don't think we would have even been able to like at the time this was like when this was designed. We
No,
were supposed
even
to
if
watch.
I was 6, I'd
Yeah.
have been like, get a gun out, come on. Like, shoot that tiger. I just been like, yeah. To bring it back to Doctor Who, there is a note that I have, and I do think Capaldi, the Doctor is really funny in it anyway, but I do think Capaldi acts it really well, because there are some bits when he's acting like he knows this is beneath him, but he's still
But
like,
that's
I'm
so
the
Doctor as well.
Exactly. That's why I like it, because it's not like an actor phoning it in, going, "Oh, this is better." I know, even though it was for directing, Capaldi could have been walking around going, "I have an Oscar, and I'm doing this," but he wasn't. He was acting it like, "I'm the Doctor. I face these massive threats, but somehow I've stumbled across a forest. I guess, sure, I'll deal with it, but I'd rather be doing so." And that's how he plays it. It isn't like, "I'm bored, I don't want to be here." It's like, "All right, I'll deal with it, but
I think
whatever."
that's the thing about the Doctors. To be honest, all of them, and Capaldi especially, they are, well, New Who definitely. They put 100% effort into being the Doctor every time. And Capaldi especially, definitely, because you've told me he was a huge Doctor Who fan, and that really shows. Even in this kind of episode, he's the Doctor, and this whole situation is beneath the Doctor.
Yeah,
It's not, but
not beneath Capaldi, but the
exactly.
Doctor, and that's how he plays it. That's the difference. That's what it's really
And that's
interesting to see.
and that's it's so. My dad even said that any scene where Capaldi's in is just like Capaldi's the strongest bit. My dad actually enjoyed watching the Capaldi scenes. I'm gonna be honest, he walked halfway through once the tiger showed up, but he enjoyed Capaldi's scenes, and that's. I definitely I've said this. I said this actually to my dad, but the more I've seen Capaldi now at my age, I've appreciated him a hell of a lot more, and I enjoy him a lot more than I did when I was younger. Because I think when I was younger, it was because I had this attachment issue with David Tennant. So as soon as he was gone, I was, fighting everyone. I was like, no, get away.
Yeah.
But now I go back to it, and I'm like, I can appreciate David Deere as my favorite and the best, but I can really enjoy every other one. And Capaldi, he's fabulous, actually, I will say. Brilliant.
Capaldi does have that effect, I think, is that you have to appreciate the Doctor a bit more. Maybe not, if you look at the state of the show and you relate that to the Doctor, you're never gonna appreciate the Doctor so much. Or usually sometimes they go hand in hand. Like the Tennant era is the best, and many see him as the best Doctor. The fourth Doctor's era is amazing up until the end when he couldn't be asked to be in it anymore. And for the last few Tom Baker episodes, he's just like, "Oh, K9, what's that over there? Oh, sure. Oh, the Master's back." And Tom Baker doesn't care at the end anymore. But let's
just think of that as the Doctor.
It's so funny to see, like, in his early episodes, he'd be running around the console flicking switches. By the end of it, he's just stood there, just like, and he doesn't want to be there anymore.
Doctor, what's that in your coat? Just a shotgun.
Yeah.
I'm sick of this.
I think he even nicked the boots that he had to wear as the Doctor, because he's like, "I'm not giving them back. They're my boots now," and just walked home in them and had enough. It was so funny. But anyway, they're my boots now. But yeah, that era is seen as great. The Capaldi era isn't seen as very good, and as a whole, no, it's not amazing. But there's some standout episodes, sure, but generally it's not as good as it used to be. But Capaldi, once you appreciate the Doctor and you look at him and imagine all the other Doctors inside him, that's when you go, okay, this guy's good.
Gets around, Capaldi.
Yeah.
Thanks for that one, Aidan. That should be the tagline for our podcast. You can see all the
Get
doctors inside him.
Yeah.
Doctor, there's someone inside me. It's you.
EDW, the show where we put Doctor Who inside you.
God damn it.
Okay. The only other points I have are about Danny and Clara, who we've not really talked about much, I guess.
No, we should probably just do a little bit.
Let's do a little bit of them. Yeah, I can always chop and change, can't I?
Yeah.
Clara, I thought she was too focused on Danny in this episode. Like she was a bit
Danny
like
boy.
there were some serious situations where kids went missing, and all she was worried about was, has Danny seen my books?
Well, no, she actually says that herself, where she says where the doctor's saying to her that he can save her and Danny, and then she says,
good character development though. Is it inconsistency or is it good character development? That's what we've got to learn here. Because from Kill the Moon, when he has that, this isn't my planet, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Then we have an episode or two where they're just like, oh, just our last adventure, whatever. And then they, that's why Danny says, I didn't think you were in contact with the Doctor in this episode. But when he does go, this is also my planet, I breathe your air. You could say that's inconsistency, but I think that's a good character development for the Doctor there.
You're right, yeah, because the Doctor to develop in the span of like a couple of episodes instead of a span of 100 years of his life, it's inconsistency, and you can't deny the fact the writers didn't talk to each other. Hello, writer. What do you think the Doctor is? I think the Doctor is this. Well, you're wrong because I'm an idiot.
Yeah, that's a fair point. That Kill the Moon could have been a blip, but then Frank Cottrell Boyce, who wrote this episode, could have known they did that in Kill the Moon. It's whether you think he knew they did that in Kill the Moon and was rectifying it, or he was just writing the Doctor as the Doctor anyway.
Right.
And
in this episode,
Kill the Moon, they were just doing their own thing.
In this episode, the Doctor's written well. And yes, and no, that's good. It's good that he says that, and it's good. But the problem with this, what this does, is it just points out how blatantly terrible the Doctor was characterized in Kill the Moon.
Yeah. That's the way you can view it as, I'm going to excuse it as good character development. But if I'm being honest, I think it's inconsistency.
Yes. It's great in this episode. Fantastic. It just points out how... My word here was...
Yeah, Kill the Moon with our, I think, 26 swear bleeps.
It's a record.
And I think, last week there were 3. The week before there were 26. 26. Anyway, back to your Clara point.
Right. So there's a moment after the Doctor's all like, I'll save you. And she says, Danny will never leave those kids so as long as he lives, or something along those lines, which is nice, showing Danny would die for those kids, which is a good thing to do, implying the fact that Clara would leave those kids
in an
instant. Yeah.
You said that before I watched the episode, and I watched it, and I thought the way she says it is like, I can take you away, I can save you. And she goes, yeah, but Danny wouldn't come.
But Danny wouldn't.
So it's like, yeah, but Danny wouldn't come. I would. I'd leave
Yeah.
these kids, fine, but Danny wouldn't. So, yeah, I noticed that and was just like, yeah, I know that's not what you meant, Clara, but that's what it sounds like.
Clara, I do quite like her, and I think the actor is fabulous. I'm not going to try the name because my brain is fighting over 2.
Jenna Coleman.
Jenna, thank you. But Clara, she seems a bit selfish.
No, she is. That's why I don't like her, because she's
Kill the Moon. She's like, go yourself to the Doctor. I'm better than these humans. And in this one, she's like, these kids.
Yeah. That is the very thing why people don't like her. That's why people said when Clara was in Doctor Who, it became Clara Who. But that's, Danny was less selfish, and I did like to see his concern for the kids. Like, his number one focus throughout the episode was, let's keep these kids safe. The Doctor...
he did. And he wasn't even good at that.
Well, true. But the Clara and the Doctor are very much like, what caused this? What's that? And he's just sort of like, I don't care. I just want to keep these kids safe. And I do quite like that about him. The thing I don't like about Danny, though, is at the end. Did I actually write this? Oh, yeah, I did. There it was. It was at the end where the Doctor says, let's go up in the TARDIS. Let's look at the solar flare. And he's like, no, I've been a soldier. I've seen it all. Now I just want to look at the things I have already and keep them safe. And I'm like, yeah, I get what you're trying to say here. But if you get in that TARDIS for 2 minutes, you're not missing out on anything. You don't have to go through anything to see this. All you need to do is just step in there and have a look. Like it's not like you have to go off somewhere and do all these things to see this thing. Then I'd be like, sure. I'd be like, I don't want to do these quests anymore. I just want to keep the things safe. Sure. But all you have to do is take 2 steps.
I know, but it's so.
Why would you not want to see that?
It's like, right, couldn't it be more that he's been close to death, so he doesn't want to be near death again? But wouldn't that be like, but I want to experience everything that I haven't experienced before I kick the bucket? But it's just idiot. It's literally him. It felt so. It's like when you're in an argument with someone and then they say, "Do you want to get some ice cream?" And you're like, "No, I don't want to get ice cream because I am all about eating fruit." It was a bit
it's not even that though. It's just like it'd be more like you've driven to the seaside, and you've just gone, "Do you want to go to the beach?" And he's gone, "I've done enough. I've been a soldier. I don't need to see new things. I just want to see the things that before me." He's like, "Yeah, but the beach is right there."
Yeah.
Like, can you not just take 2 steps? Like, "No, I've been a soldier. I've seen these things." Like, just take the steps.
Clara and Danny's love life must be terrible. I'm just saying.
Well,
Oh, do you want to do it in the
now.
shower? No, all right. At this time in the story, he wasn't. Okay, the love life must be terrible because all right, let's do it in the shower. I know. I only like doing it on the bed.
I've
with the
seen
lights
enough
on.
things. I don't need to do new things. He's like, "Oh, come on, man."
Handcuffs? No.
It's not even like, I get right. His character development is that when he was in the army, he killed a kid. Quite dark, isn't it? But he killed a kid. So I think you could say that's why he's so focused on keeping the kids safe in this episode. And by the end of the series, there's a chance that they could bring Danny back to life, and he chooses not to. He decides to bring that kid back to life. That's where the story ultimately pans out. But it's not like he even needs to keep the kids safe here because they're off back home with the parents. That's where they're going. Go to find the parents. Why does he need to be like, "I don't want to see new things"? Like, get in the TARDIS. So what would you do to fix this? Good question.
Fix this episode. Just make it a different planet if possible. But really, if I have ultimate control, I would do a good rejig of the thematic elements, and where their aim is for the entire Doctor Who run now. I'd just have it be more balanced, more consistent, try and have it embrace mature themes while still just be family friendly.
Yeah, I agree. I think what I would do is, like I said, I would make it not Earth.
Where's that?
I don't know. Just call it the Extraction Galaxy or something. I don't know.
There you go. He's had a stroke, guys. Sorry about that.
Yeah. Yeah. So that would make more sense for the trees springing up overnight. I would also get rid of the trees just disappearing by fairy light by the end. I hated that bit. Like how does that happen? All the trees for a start go, "There's a solar flare going to happen." How do the trees know that? Then they all manage to grow overnight, whatever, and then they disappear. Like, they don't get cut down.
Whatever those fairies are, go away. Because I don't even know what you are.
I didn't understand any of that. The whole, why can Maeve see them? How do they bring her sister back? What are these things? What are the four?
Oh yeah, the sister. Why there? What was the sister about? The trees kidnapped the sister. What was this about? Why?
What?
Is it a new sister? Is the sister made of fairies? Is it the same sister? Why did the sister have such a creepy smile?
Why was she hiding in a bush?
Was the sister always in the bush? What is this?
She's been in that bush the whole time?
I don't know. It's so just. You didn't need to have the kid lose her sister. You could have just had her be a bit weird because she's hearing voices.
Or just, well, maybe you can explain that's why she's hearing. I mean, I don't get why she's hearing voices in the first place. But if you're going, yeah, but why is she hearing voices? Why her?
I've told you, Aidan, it's because of her sister. Does that not make sense?
Why? Why her? Is there anybody else on this planet who can hear these voices? Is there all these people around the world that can hear the voices and know that these trees are growing overnight? Or is it just her? And if so, bit of a coincidence that she's in Clara's class who travels with the Doctor, don't you think? You know what I mean? Quite convenient, isn't it?
Doctor Who's convenient. Get over it.
I don't get it. I don't get it. But that's basically how I feel. Get rid of those stupid fairy things and Maeve's psychic powers because she's not a mutant. It makes no sense.
Keep in the hands just for the Doctor's "What is this?" line. That's the only reason.
Sure.
Get
Just
rid of the tiger with the wolves because
Get rid of-
whoever thought that was a good idea.
Well, if we're on another planet, that's a given. They've gone already.
No, but no, they wouldn't be because you know what the writers would do? They'd have alien tiger that looks a lot like human tiger.
But he's green. Yeah, that's what they'd do.
It'd be worse CGI.
So we're going for a different planet, which gets rid of quite a few things when you think about it, because we're getting rid of the school kids. Goodbye. We're getting rid of the animals. Goodbye. And then while we're at it, I mean, you can have extras in it, sure, but they don't have to be year 8 kids. Make them somebody else. You know what I mean? Maybe have a kid in there, but have some adults in there as well. This completely changes the shift of the episode, because rather than the Doctor coming to Earth and talking to Clara, all that kind of thing, just have the Doctor and Clara land on a planet where a forest has shown up overnight. Then you can go for all of that thing. You can have the solar flare. Everything can be the same, but we just get rid of the children. We get rid of the animals. And it doesn't go with that, but please just get rid of those stupid fairy lights at the end, because I just don't get what the hell you were supposed to be doing. I just don't understand.
That's my reaction to the episode.
Yeah. I don't get it. That's my reaction.
Pointless and yes.
It's fun. I will admit it's fun. I watch it.
It's fun, but
I don't feel bored, but I just feel, huh?
Where am I now?
I'm like, what are you doing? What is this supposed to be? That's how I feel. That's why it's seen as bad. It's not that I'm going, oh, this episode's awful, and they do this. I'm just going, what the hell? What were you trying to do? I don't understand what you were trying to do. Next week, we're going to be going back to the 11th Doctor, and we're going to be doing... We've been doing a lot of Clara recently, I've noticed, but we're going to a Clara... We've been doing a lot of Clara and Capaldi's Inside Us. So, we're going to be doing the Crimson Horror next week, which is a Mark Gatiss episode. It is a Matt Smith episode, and I find it quite fun. It's got a former Bond girl in it. But yeah, it's not very popular. So that's next week. Thank you very much for listening or watching. Like I said earlier, if you don't follow us on Instagram, EDW_podcast. I don't really know what you get out of following us, but, follow us, sure.
You get insight and little clips that aren't seen anywhere else.
Yeah, and I think there'll be a few. Yeah, we'll be posting some bonus clips actually soon, and I think there'll be quite a few outtakes from this episode. So I'm probably going to splice them together. So yeah. Again, for the third time, thanks for listening.
See ya.
Goodbye.